Thank you for your interest in the Retained Recruiter show powered by iIntro. Before the show starts, I have a small favour to ask of you. Our goal is to provide you with the most insightful, helpful and practical recruitment knowledge and know-how from the best in the recruitment industry. If you like this channel and enjoy watching our content, hit the subscribe button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. Thank you again, and as ever, we're rooting for your success. Now, time for the show.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Retained Recruiter Show. My name is James.
And my name is Jo, and thank you very much for joining us here today. We've got a great topic lined up today, haven't we, James?
Absolutely. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Looking forward to this one. In terms of what we're going to be talking about today is really how we can help you change the way that you work with your existing clients, talk about how we're going to help you differentiate yourself and charge more money, making sure you get paid for everything you work on, of course, which is really what we want to do. Also we're going to sort of share some other ideas as well, aren't we, Jo?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be talking about increasing fees with existing clients. There's a few things we want to topic points we're going to discuss. So the first one is how to present a new way of working with an existing client. We can't just increase fees with an existing client without potentially, allowing them to see the reasons why. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you might be able to do it, but they're probably not going to like you for it. So we're going to talk about how you can present a new way of working with an existing client. Second thing we're going to look at is then what differentiation is required in order to be able to charge those premium fees. If you're charging premium fees, then there's a very good chance you're going to have to be providing a premium service. So we're going to have a discussion about that as well. Thirdly, we're going to look at why an existing client would even consider paying more. So that's kind of connected to the second one as well. And then finally, we're going to talk about how to encourage clients to pay more with an irresistible risk reversal. And as always, hopefully, it's going to be a really good session.
Yeah, well, hopefully it will be. And listen, thank you everybody very much for joining us. If there's any way we can help you, there'll be various points during the afternoon when a little information piece will pop up on screen. Maybe one will pop up now if we can press a little bit of magic and you'll see something like that. So if you want to get in touch with us to see how we can help you more, please do get in touch with us here at iIntro, which runs the Retained Recruiter Show. So let's just get into it, Jo. So what we'll talk about is how to present a new way of working with existing clients. So we've all got clients, and the first thing I'd like to do, Jo, is try and sort of get a definition of a client, because the words client and customer are sometimes interchangeable, and we sometimes mean different things. So we're very clear on what we define a client as within our training program on the Retained Recruiter Academy, Jo, aren't we? So do you want to define what we mean by a client?
Yeah, so a client would really be someone who's working with you on a regular basis. Anybody can, work with a client once, but building that client advocacy in order to get that repeat business with clients. So that's what we mean. So somebody you're working with on a regular basis, somebody who you're meeting with on a regular basis, someone who you would consider if they had a particular open position, they would call you first. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a client you're working with exclusively at this moment in time, but definitely someone where you're sort of top of the tree as far as the PSL is concerned. So those are what we would call our clients. And as much as clients like to have a PSL, obviously a preferred suppliers list, I think we should also have a PCL, so a preferred clients list. So have a think now, maybe whilst you're on this session, what clients, if I had to count them on one hand or write them on a list, would I, using that definition, who would I put on my preferred client list? Because they're kind of the ones to start with, James, but then there are others, aren't there, after that? There are others that aren't necessarily clients.
Yeah, Jo, I love the preferred client list. It's something that everybody should have, because when we train an awful lot of recruiters, and one of the things we hear people talking about are sometimes, how can I say it without sounding negative, but complaining or whinging about some of their clients, in inverted commas. They're probably customers, but anyway, what they think is their clients. And we always say, hey, listen, if you've got bad clients, look in the mirror. You've allowed them to become the way, you've allowed them to treat you like the way you have. So thinking about how you can get people on your preferred client list is all part of you positioning yourself as an authority. It should be a privilege to work with you. You shouldn't necessarily be so subservient to an organization that you're treated like something that's you've stepped on in the street. So that's one of those things in terms of mindset. Something else we talk a lot about, Jo, because you've got to position yourself in that right way so that your clients perceive you in the right way. But when you've got those great clients, the people who, as Jo said, turn to you first time, every time, pretty much. They're the type of people that you want to work with. And so how we actually going to change to, change the way they see you, because they already think you're great, presumably. So I think what we're going to do is find out ways in which we can increase the value proposition. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Do you know what? I love what you said there as well. The whole idea of a preferred client list. So we've got clients, these are the ones that use us all the time. And you've probably already got a relatively decent relationship with them. You've then got this other kind of outer ring of sort of customers who've maybe used you once or twice. You're not that sort of in with them. They probably have positions that you don't know about. This will work on them as well if you want to bring them into that preferred client list. And then, of course, you've got the rest of the planet. So you've got your prospects. So we talk a lot about clients, customers, and prospects. You've got all your prospects. But a lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about today will work with them as well. Because actually, James, what you said there really hit the nail on the head. Sometimes you're not going to want to bring your existing clients with you, nor are your existing clients going to get or want this level of service. I think you're always going to have those clients that just aren't ready yet to move into a fully consultative relationship with a recruiter. They still want to work at a transactional arm's length level. And I mean, LinkedIn is absolutely peppered with this as a topic at the moment, because obviously we educate and support recruiters to move into a retained model. And people are saying, well, not all clients want that level of service. Some clients just want CVs. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think some people just don't know what they need until they need it. But I do think you can use this with all your different levels of clients, but only if you want to. So have a think about qualifying your clients as much as they're qualifying you. Is this a client that you want to take with you? Is this a client that you want to bring with you? Because the better service you provide, the better your ratios will be. The more money you'll make, the more successful you'll be. The less clients you'll have to work with, James, because you don't need to have 15, 20 clients or 20 to 30 vacancies at any given point, do you? Not unless if you're working contingent, you do, but you shouldn't really have to work like that.
No, I mean, we always look to work with an exclusive basis. And again, I'll just give a point of reference for what you talked about there, Joe, clients, customers and prospects. And again, we reference something called the Dream 100, and there's a guy called Chet Holmes, or Chet and Amanda Holmes, and the Ultimate Sales Machine. So if you're interested in looking up a book to read on how you can drive your sales performance working with those people, that's a good starting point for people to look at. But in terms of when you've got those numbers of clients, a client is somebody who always gives you business. And most companies, if you think about it, most companies recruit at least once a year, if not twice, not always guaranteed, but in any mid-sized organization, that's definitely going to be the case. And so if you've got 5 to 10, I mean, even if you had 20 clients and they came to you once a year with a vacancy, if it's what we're talking about retained recruitment, so talking about consultative recruitment, well, that's 20 vacancies a year. That is more than enough for most recruiters to deliver on an exclusive retained basis. So you're delivering a higher value of service. So what we need to talk about is in terms of how can we share with the client. So we've got a relationship with them at this moment in time. We want to transition that client relationship from transactional to consultative. So therefore, we have to present a value proposition that shows them what it is that you do differently. Now, what does everybody do? Every recruiter, they actually say to clients, they'll say that, we understand the market, we know the market really well, we're experts, we're specialists, we're niche, etc. They'll say all those things. Well, everybody says that. So, that doesn't really make you sound any different, even though you may be very, very good. And I hope you are if you're listening to this. So what we're going to do is say, how do we go further? So how do we go further than just the focus or the role of being the person who identifies the CV? It's beyond more than CV identification. It's about assessment and evaluation. Because if you just take the client, in this case, and that might be the wrong word, but if you take the person you're sending the CVs to, just up to the point where you're saying, there's some great CVs, please interview them, and I hope, fingers crossed, that you hire them. Well, you're leaving everything to the client. So one of the phrases, we try to do things in three. So what you've got to show the client is, when you're recruiting, we can do it instead of you. Outsource it to me. We can do it better than you because this is what we do for a living, and we can do it more cost effectively than you because this is what we focus on. And obviously, you've got to show them those 3 particular points. And Joe, you'll know in training we talk about the 3 pivot points to differentiate yourselves. And Joe's going to repeat the 3 pivot points because this is a test.
Can you imagine if I got this wrong? How awful would it be? So first thing that we do is we reduce commercial client downtime, which means we're going to save you time when you're recruiting. Next one is that we improve new employee retention rates to 96% using scientific and objective assessment. And then the third one is that we will reduce the overall cost of hiring. So save them time, save them money, and improve new employee retention rates. But that's a really good point. When you talked about moving from transactional to consultative, this is the kind of the journey that recruiters need to go on, I think. Transactional is very easy. You're trading bits of paper for bits of paper. So I'll take your job description, Mr. Client, and I'll take that order, and I won't really ask you any questions about it. I'll just take it away, and I'll give you no promises, no timescales, no expectations in return. And then I wonder why clients go off and find other recruiters to give it to as well, when I've given no real assurances. And a lot of the times that's because as recruiters, you're not sure if you could fill it yourself either. And that's because you've not taken enough information. So we take this job order, we take these 2 bits of paper, and then we use that 2 bits of paper to try and attract candidates to their business. And it's 2 bits of paper literally about what they're going to do in the job, not what they can become, not what's in it for them, not what's going to attract them. So automatically we're using an admin tool to try and sell an opportunity to top performers. And that's where we also then start to struggle finding candidates. And we all know that not just finding candidates isn't the only thing that we should do for our clients. But if we're talking transactionally, then it kind of is. You get this job description, you go out, you find CVs, you match them together, and you send those CVs over by email to the client, and then you have an email-based relationship with them. More often than not, this is very basic level transactional recruitment, but more often than not, you'll have an email exchange with them in order to try and schedule interviews. The client will interview how they want to interview and who they want to interview, and then we'll end up taking that person on or not at the end. And there's a lot of, like you said before, James, a lot of complaints that we have as recruiters about our clients and our clients' relationships and the way that they behave. But if we don't set that consultative relationship in advance and we don't do the groundwork, we're never going to be able to transition away from that transactional level of recruitment. You mentioned value proposition earlier on. So the actual definition, James, if you want to test me on that as well, the actual definition.
Joe, what's the value proposition?
Well, the actual definition in the dictionary of a value proposition is it's a promise of value to be delivered and acknowledged. So it's actually a promise of something that's going to happen in the future. And a value proposition is exactly what you need to have if you want to provide a service, if you want to get paid for the service you provide rather than the CV that you send. Because if we're only sending CVs and we are being priced, or our cost is being evaluated based on just that piece of paper, we're going to really struggle to increase our fees. So move from transactional to consultative, think about value proposition rather than just features and benefits of your service, and start thinking about your service methodology. What is it that we do? Exactly like you said, James, which isn't just about identifying the right people, but also what do we do to assess those people and to help you to make a more informed decision as to who to put into your business. And then they're going to stay and be happy and enable the growth of your business. Ta-da! The end.
Ta-da, indeed. Hey, listen, if anybody would like to download our battle-tested plan, please go to www.retainedroadmap.com. It's a free download, so nothing to lose by sort of getting that, and it'll share some of our views with you. So please do download that if you've not already done so. So yeah, Joe, just coming back to that point, so I know that, it's a bit of a cliche value proposition. So people say, well, what does that mean? And it as you said, you've given the definition of it, but you've got to do more. You've got to do more than just provide a CV. So you've got to think about what you can add in. So we use a phrase that implement a strategy, a recruitment process management system that introduces multiple layers of scientific and objective assessment. Move it away from just purely subjective. And a CV is relatively subjective. When we interview somebody, based on what they've told us in their CV, their knowledge, skills, and experience, it's subjectively, my gut feel, do I like them or don't I? Introduce something a little bit more firm into the process, So we use, and all these things are available, of course, but the way we use them is slightly different to most people. But we use behavioural assessment. Sometimes people call that psychometric profiling. We use key competency assessment. We use video assessment. These are all assessments which are more than just a subjective overview of the candidate. They're starting to detail how the candidate will do something should they be offered the role. Now, most people get offered a job because they interview well. Most people, most recruiters feel that the reason why the candidate didn't get the job is because they didn't interview well. Well, that's not always the case. It's just there's a mismatch in terms of, and I don't want to call it personalities, it's more than that. There's a mismatch of fundamental beliefs and behaviors for coming from both sides, in terms of the expectation from the employer, what they want from a candidate or a potential employee into their business, and the expectation of the potential employee, the candidate, in who they want to work for and how they're expected to work. We've all heard that phrase, that's not how we do it here. but that's how I've done it before. Well, that's not how
Yeah.
we do it here. So if you're not trying to evaluate some of these areas, I mean, I'm just giving some simple examples there. You do use science to evaluate this, then you're not really positioning yourself as adding much value into the process. If you ask the client, or the customer, in terms of what does your recruiter do for you, they say, well, I give them the job description. It's got all the details I've prepared. I give it to the recruiter. They go into the database, tap in a few search words, and they come up with a whole host of CVs or resumes, and they plant them on my desk. Now, of course, I can counter that as well as any transactional recruiter. Say, no, that's not what we do. We've spent years identifying our database and building and nurturing that talent and interviewing those people. And we know the people you need before you know you need them. That's all the work that we do. So I know you can build out, to sort of, counter that particular objection. But the reality is that's the perception of what the client feels. So they don't see any value in what you do because you've just gone into a database and come up with some CVs. So this is what we mean by adding value into the having some value proposition that says this is what we do, and you show them, and you have to be transparent. So it's about having a transparent recruitment process management system. If you have that, and you can show the client what it is that you do over and above CV identification, because that's a given. That's what you get your 15% for. That's why the average recruitment fee in the UK is 15%, because most people just provide a CV, and most clients won't pay more than 15% for the expediency of a recruiter just dropping that out on the desk. But Joe, let's move on and let's talk about the differentiation. I mean, maybe I've just touched on that. Some of the differentiation points, the value proposition that you need to charge a premium service.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good place to start is to get a piece of paper. On that piece of paper, put what your current fee is, what the current fee is that you're charging. So let's say you're charging 20% down here. And then for that 20%, let's think about, okay, what is it that we do for that 20%? And actually, when you list out, which I think is a really great exercise for recruiters to do, I think we devalue what we do for a living. And there's a lot that we do that goes on behind the scenes that we don't tell clients about. I did a post the other day on LinkedIn, which said that recruitment isn't magic. And there was almost a bit of a side pun to that, because we back in the day, we used to recruit for Virgin. And they said to us, I bet if we asked you for a left-handed astronaut, you'd find one in that magic bag of candidates that you'd got, because we were so good at going ta-da, but actually the ta-da isn't enough, because the clients need to see, they need to know what it is that you're doing and how hard you're working. So you have to show you're working. So this as an exercise is really useful. On top of that 20%, try and build out all the things that you do for your money. This is going to really help you to defend your fees with your existing clients and to get at least this value out of prospect clients when you bring them in. Then what you can do is you can decide, okay, even if it's just 25% you now want to increase to, which actually, if you're doing 20 jobs, if you're doing 20 deals in a year and every single one of those the fee was increased by 5%, that's quite a lot of revenue that you're going to increase just by increasing your fee percentage. So if you want to increase it to 25%, what you then need to think, okay, well, if I'm asking them for more, what else can I give them in return? So look at all the areas of what you do for them already. So all of this stuff here, and think, okay, what else could I do? How could I increase that in order to be able to offer them 25%? Now, sometimes that's going to be things that you're already doing. You're just not blowing your own trumpet. You're not elevating them and showcasing them to clients. And then on top of that, James, you've got to start thinking, okay, what else do I need to put in the locker? What else do I need to put in the 25% locker that clients are going to think is probably low effort and low cost to me as a recruiter, but high value to a client? So things like, I know we're going to talk about this, but I'm going to throw it in now. Risk reversal policies. If we're asking clients to pay more, then what could we give them that's going to be reciprocal? A lot of everything is reciprocal. So what could we give them in return? And that's where we start talking about risk reversal policies. And not just, we'll come back to in a second, not adding more to what you do for a living, but also thinking, okay, what else could I give them that is going to be of high value to them? Yeah. So just explain, James, because we have a particular risk reversal policy here at iIntro, but that's because we've got multiple layers of scientific and objective assessment, which enables us to have 96% retention. So we kind of can do this. This is a taboo subject, isn't it, James? Because we've had interesting discussions with people about this risk reversal policy in the past.
You crazy people,
I may add. Yeah, literally. What are you doing? This is the point at which
Yeah.
Paul Hickey is going to jump in and go, oh, you have to offer it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think the interesting part is when you deliver this type of service, and when you've actually gone through that transparent process, so the client understands that you're doing a lot, and as you mentioned, the law of reciprocity is you give to receive, and so you're giving them more, so you can expect more. So just when you said, for example, you can offer 25%, I think the client will happily pay 25% because people don't always buy the cheapest thing on the market. People look for value in what they're offering. And if they can't see the value, then it becomes the lowest common denominator who can charge the lowest price. But when you're adding all that value in to a transparent process using multiple layers of scientific and objective assessment, showing the client what you do, you don't just find a CV or resume, you actually deliver value through the process. You handhold them through. You're their recruitment partner, not their CV or resume vending machine. When you do that, you all of a sudden say, okay, well, this is what we do. And when you measure, so just come back to the second pivot point that we talk about, which is helping improve the productivity and performance of organizations by improving their new employee retention rates to as high as 96% and beyond. What does that mean? Well, what it means is, if you start to measure the value of your placements, and I don't mean in financial terms, how long do they stay? Because if you can show your clients that when you work with us, we deliver exceptional value, not just by the service we deliver, but by the people we place with you. They're typically with you, 96% are with you for up to 12 months. Now, here's where we come to the recruitment risk reversal policy. If you know that 96% of your people are there anyway, what's the risk? The risk is 1 in 25. So for every 25 placements, one's going to drop out just because those things happen. Now, I'll not say just because. Actually, it's in most transactional processes, it's 20 to 30%. So there's a massive value add in what we're doing there. But because you're able to share with your clients the confidence of what you do, you can use that. You can leverage that 96%, which is why clients will pay you a higher fee than the average 15 to 20%, because you're able to say to them with confidence that because I can offer you this amazing service that we're going to share with you, that I know will deliver a 96% success rate, I'm prepared to offer you a recruitment risk reversal policy of up to 12 months free replacement. That means when I place somebody with you, I'm going to, if something happens, if you fire them or they walk, I will replace them free of charge. Now, let's just get the elephant out of the room. Oh, is it for any reason? Any reason at all? Obviously, what's the caveat? What's in the small print? Well, if they make them redundant, you're not going to run the search again because it's illegal. Because if they made somebody redundant, the position no longer exists. So, you're going to put your money where your mouth is and share with the client. This is what's going to happen. So, should something go wrong, I'll do the work for you again, totally free of charge. Shock, horror. You're going to be doing the work free of charge. I don't want to work for free. Well, listen, you're working for free at the moment. What's the difference? The reality is here, you've actually strengthened your client relationship because you've put your money where your mouth is. You're saying people we place with you will stay. And if they don't, I'll do the work again for you free of charge. Guess what? I don't want to do the work again for you free of charge. I'm going to work really hard to make sure we get it right first time. But in the unlikely event something does happen, I'll do it again for you. Now, people ask me, does it happen? Well, of course it happens. Some, statistically, 1 in 25 are going to leave, and you're going to have to do the work again. But that client now loves you. When they've got another new position, who are they going to turn to? They're going to turn to you, Joe.
Yeah. What's the example that you use, which is the car manufacturer? Give that example. I know we've used this a couple of times in other shows, but I really like that because I think sometimes when you take something out of a recruitment context, it actually makes more sense than when it's in a recruitment context, doesn't it?
Oh, I wish I had my car analogy person on the call, but hey, hasn't made it. I think it's a little bit like
it might pop up any minute. You never know.
Yeah, I think the analogy is obviously when you buy a new car, it comes with a warranty of however many thousands of miles, 60,000 miles, 100,000 miles, 6 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever it happens to be. The reality is they're not expecting the car to break down, but if it does break down, if you've ever experienced it, they fix it. There's no quibble. It's within the mileage or within the time zone, whichever it happens to be. It just gets fixed, and people value that. You are paying. Quite often, it's for a premium price in a premium brand, not only, but because obviously some of the mid-level brands also do this now as well, of course, and do it very effectively. But they're trying to give you confidence in buying that car. It's not going to break down, and we buy it. We lap it up. So put that into your recruitment process. Now, just one thing, Joe, because you said people, we have some interesting debates on this one. So one of the exercises we run through when we train people in the Retained Recruiter Academy is we ask people to say, of the last 10 people you've placed, as a recruiter, how many of them are still in the job 1 year later? Now, of course, it's different across certain industries. Some industries are better or worse. But if you're dealing at a mid to senior level, Most people say most of them. Now, we could try and quantify that. Does that mean 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10? And I think it's 9 out of 10 if you measure it. Yeah. So what we're trying to point out to people, if you've already got an amazing metric, you just haven't learned how to monetize it yet. That's what we help you with. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have to sort of say at that point as well that we need to make sure that these metrics, we need to know what these metrics are. I mean, anybody who's watching this tends to want to improve themselves and their processes. That's why we tend, the people who buy self-help books typically tend to be one of those with growth mindset, the ones that want to improve. So if you do want to improve, you can only improve upon it if you already know what it is that you're doing. So look at your processes, speak to your clients, look at your metrics, and then think, okay, well, if these are great metrics, I can take these out. Can I improve these metrics? What else can I put into process that's going to improve? Because that's a win-win, isn't it? It's a win for the client and it's a win for us. The idea here is that we're not just sending CVs. We're helping the client to streamline their processes. You do this day in, day out. You work with loads of clients. You probably work with clients that have got really good processes. You probably work with clients that have got really bad processes. And then you've got clients in the middle. Those clients that don't have a 10 out of 10 process, our job is to help them. Our job is to educate and advise them on the best ways to streamline their recruitment processes and practices to enable them to make more informed hiring decisions. Because when you do that, guess what? Your ratios get better anyway. So the whole thing kind of it starts to eat itself after a while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then you'll get that 96% retention or whatever your retention is. I would imagine there's a lot of people who probably listen to this and on the replay who don't know how many of the people that they've placed over the last 3 years, whether they're still there or not, because we have a tendency in recruitment to go like this, don't we?
And I think
just get to the end of the rebate, just get to the end of the rebate.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was laughing at. I could see hiding behind your hands, making sure you get past.
I've done it. I'm not going to say exactly. I've done it. I'll put my hands up and say, I've done it. So we're not sitting here in our ivory tower, are we?
And what we're saying is, in terms of the reason why clients consider paying more, is because you'll put together what we call an evidence-based recruitment process management system, which is what iIntro is. iIntro helps recruiters pitch, win, and deliver more retained consultative assignments. And if you want to find out how we can help you, then book a call with our team. And you get the address up there. Come on, Joe, do your finger. www.retainedcall.com. And so please do get in touch with us, and we'll happily share our experiences with you. And if there's something we can help you with, that would be great. So the reason, we've spoken there, Joe, a little bit about the recruitment risk reversal policy already. So I think we probably hammered that one to death. But it's something that you should consider. Because it makes you stand out and differentiate yourself from the crowd of recruiters. The recruitment market is very, very crowded. Clients have got a lot of choice, and so if you want to make them look at you and think, well, why should I deal with this recruitment business rather than that one? Well, what do you do? And if you can showcase what you do rather than just say, hey, I'm really good, I've been in recruitment 20 years, 30 years, 5 years, whatever it happens to be, then
which doesn't make it good, does it? Just means that you've got longevity, or you've been in it for a while. But I always use the analogy, my mother-in-law's been driving for 40 years. It doesn't make her any good at it.
And she's avoided the accidents, she can't be that bad.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying anything because this is recorded, and she's my mother-in-law. She has ways of finding stuff out. But you have to be able to go off more than that. And also, we've got a lot of people who listen to this who have maybe just started the business or starting in recruitment. If you don't have 20 years of experience to fall back on, what can you do? What value can you propose? What's your service methodology? If you packed everything that you do for a living into a tool bag, what would it have in it? And then take that tool bag to your clients and say, look, this is how hard I'm going to work for you. All I'm asking for is this percentage and this in return. So, we talk about retained all the time, but we also talk about really high value, exclusive relationships with clients as well. So, don't feel as if you've got to jump to retained immediately. It could just be that a lot of your roles at the minute are pure contingent. And it could be that you want to try and transition that over into getting more exclusive business. Why would a client trust you and give you all of the business and not give it to any other agencies? Again, try and answer that question by layering what it is you do with for a living, writing out your service methodology. And if you're still struggling, you can book a consultation with us, or you can message either of us on LinkedIn. If you want to ask us any questions, exactly. Always connect with us. Always ask us questions. There's about 50 other shows, isn't there, James, on YouTube now? So all of these shows are on there. We're like the EastEnders of the retained recruitment world. Slightly less drama some days, but there's loads of shows on there. Maybe we should have that instead of our music at the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't think Finn would agree, would he?
No, maybe not. Listen, Joe, it's been a whirlwind. That half an hour has flown by. Thank you
That's
very
been
much
so
for listening and
fast.
watching, everybody. I hope you found some useful piece of information. Please do connect with us. Please do get in touch with us. Thanks very much for listening. Watch out for our next episode. There's a real corker coming up. There's your dum 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 dum.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Bye, everybody. Thanks,
Take
Joe.
care. Have a good week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Yeah.